What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/NuclearRevenge. This story's called, I ruined the firm I used to work for after they committed fraud and fired me because of it. This happened to me back in 2012 when I had my first real grown-up job in university. This is a long read, teal deer at the end. I was a clerical assistant for a firm in my city. The firm was a small one of 9 employees that also had clerks who would intern from time to time. I worked there part-time during my junior and senior year, then full-time after I graduated. I made it about 4 months before I was told to resign. This was my first ever business formal job, as we had lots of clients face to face. The clients were big: fire departments, police department, etc. I was brought on by work study from my university and at first really enjoyed working for the firm. I had an amazing mentor that taught me all there is to know about this side of the business. He pretty much kept the firm running and put in so much effort that when he interviewed me, I thought he was the owner of the firm and not just the staff member above me. Anyway, as this was my first job, I wasn't keen on office politics or good at recognizing my surroundings with peers. After I started working full-time, I began to catch on and see what was going on behind the scenes. The partners of the firm were scumbags. They treated all the staff like monkeys and showed no appreciation. They were both male and constantly harassed the female staff and interns. So often that the turnover rate was so high that there were new interns every few weeks. There were cliques inside the firm. The attorneys banded together with the office manager and HR manager. The interns stuck together and I was with my mentor. For the most part, we were able to stick together and get our work done and turn out good work product. But it was hard to watch the harassment of the interns, the social gossip circles of the cliques, and the blatant disregard for the staff. Soon after, an intern complained to HR that one of the partners slapped her ass and called her vulgar names. The HR manager, attorneys, and office manager gaslighted this poor intern so bad that she was an emotional wreck when she just walked out and quit. That was the point my mentor and I had enough. After seeing this, we started to take pictures, notes, and gather statements of everything we could see that was going on inside the firm that was illegal. After a huge firm event that involved many hours of overtime, close quarters, and pressure, a breaking point was hit, and the staff was exploded upon by the attorneys and managers. After the event, all of the employees went out to a local club to relax and throw back a few drinks and cool off. This was not something that you would think people in this field would do, especially when the average age of the employees in the firm was over 45. After the attorneys started getting crappy drunk, the interns and my mentor took off to go home for the night. I stayed but went to party with my friend group that was also out for the night at the same club. I bounced back a few times between groups and dancing, but near the end of the night, I came back to check on my coworkers, and what I saw was shocking. They rented out a VIP stage and had bottle service all night. When I walked up to the stage, I saw the 2 partners grinding on associate attorneys, fondling them and taking turns making out with them. I was disgusted and started to hatch my plan. Ew, cooties! Not only is that conflict of interest in my state type of law, but both partners were married with kids. Oh, shit. And so were 3 out of the 4 other female attorneys' staff members. I got one of the promoters that was my roommate at the time to get the club rep to take photos of them doing this, but to also send them to me. I snapped a few on my phone and left the club. Before we went out, we all stopped at a hotel room close by that was rented out by the partners of the firm. I went back after I left the club, and since I was an employee of the firm, I was able to convince the front desk to let me back into the room as I was there a few hours earlier and was working with them to pick up and drop things off for the event. After I was let in, I started to take pictures of everything that I could find. I emptied drawers, bags, and closet and was able to take pictures of many drugs, sex toys, and things like IDs that were left behind earlier. The following Monday, I go into the HR office and tell the manager that I was uncomfortable with what I saw the partners doing, what they have done in the office, and how everyone exploding on me and my mentor at the event was unacceptable. Immediately after I left the HR office, the manager ran into the partner's office and closed the door. I could hear screaming coming through the door and booked it over to my mentor's office to fill him in. After I blurred out what happened and what kind of pictures I got, the partners and HR manager run into my mentor's office and overhear us talking about what happened nights before. They immediately tell us to resign and to pack our things as they were worried about our hostile work environment and what it's doing to the firm. I am on the verge of tears and don't know what to do next. My mentor quietly asks for our termination letters, all of our pay stubs, all of our billable hour entries from when we started, and my university work-study paperwork. The HR manager was shocked by this, but legally had to produce all of these things for us upon request. After 2 hours of data compiling, my mentor and I walked out with all of our things. We ended up going to a bar with all the paperwork we just got and started to plan our revenge. We compiled all of our timesheets, billed hours, and my work-study paperwork. Not only did I upload all the pictures to my separate email accounts to send to the respective spouses of the attorneys, but we found out that the partners and managers muddled with our billable hours to change them to a higher rate to bill our clients more, even though a clerical assistant and paralegal were drafting and filing pleadings. Through my work study, they reported that they were paying me $18 an hour total, while paying me $6 an hour from their pockets, and my school was fronting the other $12 as reimbursement. Not only on my pay stubs was my hourly rate $12, I, nor the firm, was being taxed for the other $6. Instead, it was being pocketed straight by the firm. After a complete and thorough compilation of documents, my mentor and I set out the next day to complain to the State Bar Association to show that the attorneys at the firm committed malpractice, misrepresentation of funds, harassment, and conflicts of interest. Their spouses were emailed all of the photos of the night out clubbing and what was in the hotel rooms. My university was informed of the misuse of funds. I applied for unemployment based on their false misconduct firings. After 2 weeks of job searching, my mentor and I got picked up at another firm as a package deal. We became close after, and we constantly see each other every other week on a personal basis. Months into working the new job, did we decide to snoop on the old firm that we set out to destroy. Not only did 4 of the attorneys lose their legal licenses, they were sued by the Bar Association and L&I for fraud. I don't know what L&I is, let's look it up. Apparently Labor and Industries. Their spouses were all involved with divorce proceedings, and the managers' reputations were ruined by what was brought to light and what they covered up. My mentor and I ended up pulling all of the Superior Court submissions to read over what documents were submitted in court, and they were caught lying in declarations they submitted. It felt real nice to be vindicated by ruining their relationships, jobs, and business. Thanks for reading. Incredible revenge, and good on you for standing up for all those poor interns and other staff members. Being harassed by your boss, I can imagine, can be a very intimidating thing, given the power imbalance and, oh my god, I could lose my job and all that other crap. It's really sad. Alright, this story's called Vigilante Justice on Serial Violator of a Horrible Manner, 1959. Alright, I seriously debated posting this, but I have decided to share it. So when I got out of the Navy in 1958, wow, like many young men, I joined a fraternity. Now most of the brothers were nice people, except this butthole we'll call Brad. Brad was a 4-time legacy from our fraternity. At first, he seemed nice, but after he became a fully initiated member, he let his inner ass show. He was such an ass because he would always show off with daddy's money. He was 18 and never had a job. He always got super drunk at the parties and got handsy with other people's girlfriends. Now, his dad was a political figure in Sacramento, and his mother's father worked in the California system of higher education. Brad knew that he was untouchable and wasn't afraid to let you know. Brad in 1959 crashed 3 cars because he drove drunk. His parents bought a new Cadillac each time because he claimed, "Someone stole and crashed this!" When his parents bought him a Buick convertible, he said that he has a reputation to uphold and doesn't want people to think that he is poor. A couple of months into the fall semester, and Brad is drunkenly harassing women at the party, even saying lewd and suggestive things to them. We try to cut him off, but he keeps going on. Some of us go and leave Brad to himself. Hours later, we see a girl leaving Brad's room. I'm thinking in my head, she doesn't want to be seen taking the walk of shame. She just cries while covering her face and holding her shoes. I knock on Brad's door and he says,
"Ready for round 2? Get your ass on the bed."
When he sees that it is me, he puts his clothes back on. I ask why that girl was crying and he said,
"How the hell should I know? But she was blonde, tan, tight."
I ignore him, but I tell the other brother what happened. They know that he is a pig and just brushed it off. A couple of days later, police came to our house and arrested Brad for violation of a horrible manner. Apparently, they were watching him because 13 other girls were accusing him. Now, Brad had this birthmark on his private parts, so the statements from the girls were taken into account and he was arrested. The evidence was undeniable, especially with the details that the girls were giving regarding Brad. Due to him being a sexual predator, he was expelled from the chapter without him knowing, important later. So we and one of the sororities on campus started a support group for the victims. Girl 1 was saying how Brad made her feel and that she wanted to get back at him. Girl 2 was talking about if she had the chance, she would kick his ass. So one of our brothers, who we'll call Ralph, said, "Well, why don't you?
What?
When he comes back to the house, we can take him somewhere and you can have some time with him in the desert, alone." So mere days after Brad was arrested, he was bailed out with help from mommy and daddy, and he came back to the house. We started lying, saying how we know that the charges were BS. He said,
"Yeah, my dad has a whole team of lawyers representing me. It's gonna go away fast."
Brad gets drunk and Ralph roofied him. Ralph and some other guys proceeded to drive 3 hours east from the coast into the California desert. Ralph and some of the other guys meet 9 of the 13 girls in the desert. They wake up Brad, who is still somewhat drunk, and push him out of the car. Now, as Brad wakes up, I was told that he went pale in the face as he saw the women that he victimized were standing over him with blunt objects, stabbing weapons, and a shovel. Brad cries out to Ralph and the other guys.
You can't leave me here alone!"
Ralph said, "You aren't alone. You have plenty of company, and you know everybody here." The guys drove off, and the girls came back to campus 3 hours later with dirt on their clothes and a red-stained potato sack. Us guys never knew what became of Brad. But to this day, when we see the remaining girls that are living, we never ask. Thanks for reading. And let me say, when I say roofied, he was drugged. Benzodiazepines were invented in 1955, so that could have been it. But I have no way of knowing because I had nothing to do with this and the actions that took place afterward. Well, first of all, let me say that, really cool of you to freaking start that support group or whatever for the victims, because I might not have the most accurate view of the 1950s, but like, let me say that I freaking idolized that decade. Obviously, social issues were out the wazoo, and I've got the privilege of being able to look back and be like, wow, that place in time was beautiful. Lots of the diners in the car. Ooh, so cool. I love the aesthetic. Just the aesthetic. But anyway, I do know that it was not progressive at all. I'm pretty sure Jim Crow was still there. Women. It's just a bad time for everyone that wasn't like a white dude. I mean, I know that's not the case every time, but I'm speaking in general terms. So I'm just saying I'm impressed with how progressive y'all were at the time. And even now, like a bunch of dudes, like a freaking fraternity starting a support group for, victims of sexual assault. That's insane. That's really cool. Just ignore the potato sack though. This story's called Get Violent About Sharing My Bed? Right back at ya, bud. Having trouble sleeping tonight. Right as I was finally nodding off, this popped into my head and I started laughing hysterically, waking my husband. It's small, but wanted to share. Also, this is a petty revenge story because there's no nuclear revenge and I got a burp. Okay, got it out. Years ago, I was stuck in a really abusive relationship. Won't go too into detail because it's a long and irrelevant story. In the last months leading up to my escape, Josh, my now ex, would take up the entire bed every night. I would usually have to sleep half laying on the bed, half standing on the floor, without even a corner of the blanket. He would randomly elbow me hard in my neck and spine multiple times a night on top of that. If I tried to ask him to move, push him aside to make room, or attempt to claim some of the blankets, he would beat me with his elbows until I moved to the cold-ass floor. I mean, full-on body slamming me in the ribs and stomach with his elbows, as hard as he could. The whole relationship was bad, and I wish I was strong enough to get out of there sooner. Anyway, one night I found myself with about a third of the full-sized bed for the first time in ages. Not only did I take advantage of a peaceful-ish night of sleep, I got some very minor petty revenge. As Josh was facing the wall with his back to me, I scooted my butt against him and leaned forward so my body was at a 90-degree angle. After a couple of minutes, I used all my strength to slam my body backwards into his back, full force. I heard his face hit the wall right before he sat bolt upright screaming, "Whatever!" I pretended to be asleep as he tried to shake me awake before cursing to himself and laying back down. It was great, and I still can't believe I managed to keep a straight face and play it off. He never brought it up, and surprisingly didn't get violent that night. As stupid and petty as that was, years later it's the only thing from those 2 years that still makes me laugh out loud whenever it randomly pops into my head. As a side note, I got my bed back. He's been living in a van drinking himself into a coma for the last 4 years. Serves him right, dude. That's like messed up. Guys, don't body slam and elbow your significant others in their spine or neck. If you're gonna do it right and elbow them in the freaking gut. I'm kidding. I'm not advocating for domestic violence, and I'm depending on you to know that was not serious. Don't hit people, but do hit people back. But preferably not, because that just escalates things potentially. Or it could end things. Use your brain. I trust you. But don't beat your spouse up or significant other for any reason. I mean, unless it's to beat them up back. But again, not preferable. Anyway, OP, thank you for sharing your story. And good job for getting out of that toxic, violent relationship, because can't have been good to you emotionally, mentally, or physically. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.